Hello everyone, I'm Al Sang, CTO and co-founder here at StrongLoop. Today we're going to introduce Strong Studio. I'm going to give you a teaser preview on this thing that we call API Composer, which is a component within Strong Studio. So what is Strong Studio? It's what everyone has been telling us that we need to build, a GUI. Everyone wants a GUI on top of their product. So Strong Studio is basically the GUI for all of StrongLoop's products. The first of which we're building, which is called API Composer. The API Composer is a graphical front-end interface to operate your LoopBack application. Your LoopBack apps is a framework. The Node APIs, as you know it, the stuff that we've heard from you guys is that it's great in terms of its extensibility, but in order to get started even quicker, it'd be great to not have to learn the Node API, but go ahead and drive the first getting started experience through a GUI. Strong Studio itself runs locally and it interfaces with the cloud. The API Composer, again, the first app that we're releasing within the Strong Studio, it lets you build LoopBack apps without having to actually use the Node API. It itself, in the interest of using what we build, LoopBack as a framework, it itself is a LoopBack app. Quick note on how we're building Strong Studio. So it took us a while to actually start to get into the development. And that's because we wanted to go through the process of learning about you guys, our customers. We've identified our customers' personas as far as small-time developers, large developers as well, trying to get back a good sampling of requirements and getting to an intersection of needs between the two. We actually ran quite a few focus groups, conducted a lot of interviews. As we developed wireframes, proof of concepts, we showed this to the focus groups, went through the interviews to get your feedback, and every step of the way we actually built a model that we showed as far as what we progressed to. We're at a point now where we have a good idea of what we want for the minimal viable product, or MVP, and we're in the middle of implementing that MVP. So without further ado, let's go ahead and take a quick tour. So this is Strong Studio. First thing I'm going to do is log in. Again, this is running locally on your machine, but what we do is we ask you to register for login credentials. And what you see here is basically your LoopBack project. So models and data sources is what we're beginning with. And what we're going to do here today is I want to show you how quickly it is to go from your data. In this case, my data is going to be a set of tables here for cars in MySQL running here. So let's go ahead and take a look at this cars table running in MySQL. Right, so I have year, make, model, right, rows and columns. How do I go from rows and columns to a RESTful JSON-based API, right? So as you know, if you've played with LoopBack, we have this API called the Discover Schema. And I'm going to go ahead and define a new data source. And let's call this MySQL DB. I'm going to leave the type as MySQL, give it a name, and credentials to get to the data. And now that I've actually defined this data source, let's go ahead and run the discovery flow. So while it's going against the MySQL database, we're getting back from the schema definition a bunch of tables and views. So again, let's select car, and let's take the mapping of what we have for columns with their various data types and go ahead and generate a car model. And voila, here it is, our car model that was taken from our data source, the MySQL DB. On top of that, we're able to go ahead and integrate what we have for the API Explorer. So again, if you've used the API Explorer for LoopBack, we have this notion of the same thing. So now that I have this cars endpoint running in REST, let's go ahead and create a car. Go ahead and post to this API endpoint, and boom, we have a new car record. Go ahead and find that car. So this notion of the studio now has this slider here for API Explorer so that you can virtualize your APIs, play with them as you create models, discover new models from data sources, just as you've always done within LoopBack running in code. And last but not least, we've made it easy for you to even get started. As you know, we have SDKs, we have a rich integration with Angular as a web app, and you're able to actually render a starting web application using what you've just built. So with my car model, I'm able to actually now use this Angular app and start to do CRUD, a starting point for you to do your application itself. And that's the tour for Strong Studio. So what's next? We have a private beta that we're going to extend to all the great folks who have helped us put together Studio with their feedback and our sessions for focus groups. We're going to incorporate that feedback and iterate on the product yet again. By September, we hope to open this out for a public beta, again, through the same process, gather more feedback at large, make refinements, and move to general release. For more information, go to our website, www.strongloop.com, or shoot us an email at callback@strongloop.com. Thanks again for your time today.